Raise. Quarter. Raise. Good luck, everybody.
What's up, everybody? We're back at Rounders for another cash game session. It is a Saturday and the room is pretty packed. So I'm gonna get some food first. I know people don't really care about the food, so I'm probably not gonna show it to you, but yeah, we'll get into the action very shortly. Thanks. The first playable hand that we have is A7 of diamonds. There is a $5 straddle and there is one limp in early position. I make it 30 bucks. They call and we go heads up to the flop. The flop comes 2-8-9 with 2 diamonds. So we have the nut flush draw, we have an over and a backdoor straight draw. My opponent checks and I decide to bet 40 bucks here. My opponent does call and the turn comes a queen. Now we're just looking for our diamonds at this point. Our ace might be an out. Our opponent checks and I make it 125. I definitely don't want to get check raised on this turn, but I definitely want to bet big, charge any draws they might have. My opponent does call and the river comes a queen and my opponent goes all in for 260 bucks and they must have just flopped a set here because why else would they jam into me? We are in the big blind. We look down at the beautiful pocket aces. There is an early position limp. Middle position makes it 25. The button calls and I make it 130 bucks. Middle position calls. We go heads up to the flop. Now, the middle position player in this hand was playing quite splashy and aggressive. They were hitting hands and they had built up a big stack. So I was really excited to be in an inflated pot with this player. I choose to bet 150 bucks into this player. This player decides that 150 bucks is not enough and put me all in. And for a second, I'm like, okay, well, you know, maybe I'm beat here, but at least I have outs with the aces. I'm definitely not folding, so I slide in the call and let's see if we can win. The river comes a 5 of clubs. I turn over my aces and my opponent says that they had one pair and they fold. Now we look down at 7-5 of clubs in middle position. There is a limp in an earlier position. I decide to make it 35 here and I get 5 calls. The flop comes 2-7-4. The early position player checks to me. There's so much money in the pot at this point. I got lucky. I hit my top pair. I am betting a little bit bigger here. The pot's already huge. I want to protect my hand and I bet 150 bucks. It folds around to the early position limper who decides to go all in. Now, I am in a situation here where I put myself in a spot where I'm very pot committed versus this player. I'm nervous that they could have any overpair on the board here. I'm hoping that they have a flush draw. That's best case scenario versus me, but they will still have a lot of overs in this situation. So it's not a great spot, but honestly, I've given myself such a good price to call. I could hit another 7 that could give me the best hand. I could go backdoor for 1 of 2 straights. I could hit 2 pair. There's just way too much going on here. Way too much money in the pot for me to not call another less than 200 bucks in this pot and see if I can bank. I don't get to see my opponent's hand right away, but the turn is a 4 and the river's a 6, so we just have a pair of 7s. And my opponent turns over pocket 8s. Now I've got king, queen off in the big blind. There's an early position open to 10 bucks, a middle position call, small blind calls, and I call in the big blind. The flop comes jack, 10, 6, all spades. I have the king of spades and an open-ended straight draw. There is a bet for 15 bucks from early position. Middle position calls, and I call. We go 3 to the turn. The turn comes in 8 of spades. So I have hit the second nut flush here. Actually, it's the third in the event somebody has queen 9 of spades or 9-7 of spades. They have a straight flush and it would be my king high flush, but not likely. So just the ace of spades being out there would give me the second best hand. Now, the opponent continues for 75 bucks in early position, and the middle position player also calls the 75 bucks and still be betting for value here versus 2 pairs, sets, worse flush draws like the king of spades that are going to call. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere though, so I throw in the call for 75 bucks and we go 3 to the river. The river is an ace, which is fantastic. The board did not pair. I still have the second assumed nut flush, and I check. I will be calling a bet if somebody bets. Nobody does bet, and early position turns over the queen of spades, and middle position turns over the 9 of spades. Now we look down at ace 9 of clubs on the button. There is a $10 straddle, and we go 3 ways to the flop for 35 bucks. The flop comes 3, 6, 8. There is a small bet. I decide to make it 205 here and raise with my 2 overs, my backdoor nut flush draw, my backdoor straight draw, and play quite a bit aggressive here. I've already doubled up with the aces, and I feel like getting a little splashy. The splashy middle position player from the prior hand calls. The turn comes a jack. It does not help anyone. The middle position player checks, and at this point versus this player, I'm not convinced that they're going to fold, so I either needed to decide I'm going to fire this turn, I'm going to blast off on the river, or I'm going to check, hope that I'm up against some draws, maybe be able to bluff it on the river when this player misses, and I'll actually still have chips, because if I bet turn, I'm going to be much shallower, and my opponent's probably going to feel a bit more pot committed when they call turn. So I check, it goes check, check, and the river comes a blank 3. My opponent checks, and I decide not to unload here versus this player. And I check my ace high. My opponent shows the 6-9 for a pair of 6s, so maybe they fold turn, but I'm not convinced. Now we look down at Big Slick, Ace King. We are in the big blind, and there is a limp in middle position, same player, but there is a late position raise to 20. I make it 150 in this situation after a call of the 20. There's a lot of money in the pot, and I don't mind playing for stacks at this point. So after I make it 150, the player in late position who made it 20 now jams all in. And I have to call off about 500 total, and I didn't raise ace king here to fold. So obviously we are going to be making the call. And we are heads up, all in for about a $1,000 pot. Flop comes 10, deuce 6, 8, and 10. And we brick out, and we see that they have pocket jacks, and we lose a chunky pot. All right, everyone, so I am back home now, and I actually forgot to record an outro when I was at the card room. The table I was at ended up breaking, and I had just added on after I just lost that flip with Ace King versus Jacks for like a 1.2K pot at 1-2. Texas is amazing. It was great. Yeah, we lost the flip. We added on 400 bucks. That was what the dealer had in the tray. So I was like, okay, just give me that. That's cool. I mean, I probably wouldn't have put too much more or whatever, but then I was going to go to the other table. I was like, man, it's 2:30. Tomorrow's Sunday. I'm going to be grinding and streaming online. So I just decided to bounce at that point. So the numbers for today's session: bought in for 500, added on 400, and left with 444. So down a little bit, but some big fun hands tonight. So I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, let's see how long I can survive in these Texas streets, eh? See ya.